So this is basic training class 9, which is just supervisor training, scheduling for supervisors. In today's class, we will be going over how to assign schedule details to our employees, how to adjust employees' start and end times for their schedule, whether it's changing schedule times just for one day or a particular shift or for a date range. After that, we will be going over basic time off supervisor-esque functions, such as managing time off, editing time off, or deleting time off. And then we're going to do the same thing for overtime, how to manage overtime requests or edit or delete any overtime entries. After that, I'll show you how to manage switch requests and apply switches or substitutions. After that, we'll go through some schedule actions such as adding comments or moving an employee or viewing a particular employee's entry. And kind of throughout this, we also do have some reports that your supervisors can utilize, and I'll show you that as well. So getting started, I'm going to log in to the web portal. Okay, so, obviously, because user training is kind of like a prerequisite for, the supervisor training, everyone should be familiar with the various schedule views we offer, so we won't need to go into any of that. So first, let's, while we have the daily schedule up, let's talk about changing employees' start and end time. So if someone's maybe going to come in, say an hour earlier than normal, we can put that in now. So let me change this. Okay, so to change an employee's schedule times for the day, all we have to do is locate that employee on the daily schedule. We click on their name. And now, similar to the desktop application where we get, a sidebar loaded up both for the employee and for the shift, we're going to find the employee menu, and we're going to click Change Schedule Times. Now, once again, we just select the employee. And we pop in the new schedule times, so maybe he's starting an hour later. We click Save, and now you'll see that it automatically shows up on the single shift schedule view. And as we know, anytime we see times next to someone all the way on the right, that just means that they're working different hours than the default shift start and end times. Also, if we go to the supervisor menu, we can also go right into the change schedule time screen from supervisor. So this is another way of doing it where we wouldn't find that employee on the schedule. We could just click on supervisor, change schedule times, and it will bring us to this screen. So here, we can do a date range. Say it was from today to the 10th. We select our employee, and then we click this button to bring him over to the right side. Now he shows up under the selected list. We can select the particular shift he's working, or we could just do for any shift that they're working in this date range. And then we could put in the start and end times here. And the last thing we need to do is tell the system what days this is counting for. Meaning, if you were to do for, if the date range was a week long, but maybe these schedule times weren't applicable on a certain day, say Wednesday, so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they would work these new schedule times, but not Wednesday, you would just leave any day check boxes unchecked if the times don't apply. So this is for today and tomorrow, so we could say Thursday and Friday, it's effective. We click refresh, and now you can see right here, successfully updated 2 entries. So now here are those different times that we put in for him. So that's how you would change schedules, whether it's for a day or for a date range. Now, let me open up the mics. Does anyone have any questions so far about what we went over?
I don't.
I don't either.
Okay. Okay, good. So we'll move right along. All right, so next let's take a look at time off. So we're going to visit the supervisor menu, which is what, your supervisors, pretty much it's all they're going to need. And so, we learned in the user class how to request time off, but now I'm going to show you how, as a supervisor, we can manage those time off requests. So we're going to go to Supervisor, and here's the Supervisor menu. We're going to select Manage Time Off, and now it's going to bring us to the Manage Time Off screen. From here, we can set some filters if we know exactly what we're looking for, or we can leave it as open as we want to just show any and all time off entries. So the first thing we need to do is tell the system the date range we want to look for. Meaning, if I wanted to look for just time off requests from this week, I could say we'll start on the 5th and go to June 11th. Then you can select for a particular employee, or you can just leave it set to all. You can filter it by type of time off, or you can just leave it set to all. You could also filter it by group. Not a lot of people do. Once you bring up your employees and your reason, that's pretty much all you need. And then next, we can select what statuses we want to see. Do we want to see just requests or just approves, or maybe denied, or we can just leave it wide open and click all. So that will show us requests, approves, approved with STIP, and denials. And then the last thing we can do, we can sort it by seniority or by enter date. It really doesn't matter. It just changes the way it's organized. So we click search. So now here we have an entry for today, right here. So we can see the employee, the status, so it's just been requested. Nothing has been done to it yet. The date, the shift they're taking off, the reason, the part of day, so it's the whole day, and then we have the times, so how many hours total, and what their available balance is for that particular bank. So you'll see it all right here. So it's 10 hours, but he has 15 hours in his bank, so he can do it. So we're just going to change the status from request to approve. And we can click save. And that's all we have to do. So now, let's go, that was for the administrative shift. So now let's go to the daily schedule. And there's that entry right there. Because it's been approved, it is now showing up green. So that's all we have to do as far as approving or denying time off request. Very simple. Now, if we ever had to edit a time off request, we would need to know the information beforehand, what day and who we need to edit that entry for. But because we know it's Josh, let's go back to Supervisor. We're going to go to Schedule Time Off. Now, if you remember from the user training, if we click Show Time Off, it'll show all, previous time off entries for that person. So now here's that entry that we just approved right here. So if we want to change it, all we have to do is just double click on that entry, and now that entry shows up right here. So, we can't change the date of the time off. However, if we wanted to change the reason, we could do that. If we, needed to change it from approved to approved with STIP, we can do all that through here as well. So technically, you can even approve time off from here. You can change it from a request to an approval through this screen as well. The Manage Time Off screen is simply just for approving or denying, but in this screen we can edit the time off entry. We can approve it or deny it all through this screen. So we changed it to vacation. Save. That request has been saved. So now let's go back to the daily schedule. Here's our administrative shift, and now you'll see a change from comp to vacation. So now the hours that I took in comp went back into my bank, and now those 10 hours instead got pulled from my vacation bank. So it transitioned seamlessly as far as switching banks and things like that. Also, if we were to change the times or anything, the hours would automatically update themselves. So that's how we, one, manage time off, edit time off. I do want to show you a report that your supervisors could certainly benefit from. So if we click on Reports and we go to Time Off, we have a balance of time off. That might be more admin related depending on how your department wants to, kind of handle that. However, a time off activity report, we click on that. We put in our date range. We select our employees. So now I'm gonna make it as open as possible. So I'm gonna do all employees. We select our reasons. I'm just gonna do all reasons. And I click search, give that a second. So now here we see all time off activity from the beginning of this year to the end of this year for all our employees and all our reasons. And here we do have this pie chart that shows you, in terms of hours, what people are taking off. So as you can see, the bulk is comp time, 20 hours of vacation, 32 hours of personal, 10 hours of sick. You can also export this chart, and you can export this report as well. This report is just showing us the groups, the employee, the reason, the status, the date of the time off, the shift, and the time. So this is just a nice report to have, for maybe end of the year, situations. And you can also export it out as a PDF or an Excel spreadsheet. Same thing here. We also do have a bar graph, so we can see exactly, how many hours people are taking of each type of time off. And that's really, the extent of what your supervisors will be doing with time off entries. So let me unmute the mics. Does anyone have any questions regarding time off, supervisor functions?
I'm good.
Okay, well, next we'll move on to overtime. And the nice thing about overtime is it handles the same exact way as time off. So now, let's go back to the supervisor menu. Because like I said, this menu is going to have the majority of what your supervisors need. And now let's go to Manage Overtime. Now this is the Manage Overtime screen, but it looks a little familiar. It's the same filters as the Manage Time Off screen. We put in a date we want to look at. I'll just do it for the whole month of June. Okay. And now you can, once again, select your employees or your particular reasons or your groups. I'm just going to make this as wide open as possible. I click search. So now I have 2. So now here are my overtime entries. As you can see, because I'm not just filtering it by request, I'm also showing approvals. We see the 1 approved overtime entry down below right here. And now this is just showing the status, who requested the overtime, the date of the overtime request, the shift it was requested for, the reason for that overtime, the times of the overtime, and the total hours of overtime. So if we need to change, or if we want to approve this overtime, all we have to do is change the status. So I just select from this drop-down. I click Save. The screen will refresh, and now it's approved. Now, you might be asking yourselves, you know, what are these global change entries right here? Well, this is if, so far I've showed you how to approve, you know, overtime or time off one by one. However, if you wanted to approve, you know, all of them at once, we could just click that button for global change entries, and now you'll see they've both been changed to request. If I click approve with stipulation, they've both been changed to that. So if you want to just do like a mass approval, all you have to do is press approve and then click save. So that was for the 5th. Okay, so now that's how you, you know, approve overtime. Now let's take a look at editing these overtime entries. So we're still in the supervisor menu. We're going to go on, go to schedule overtime. So this is similar to, you know, requesting overtime payment. We click on show overtime. So this is the screen we would go to if we wanted to request an overtime, and if we wanted to put in an overtime entry. However, we go to show overtime. It's going to show us all of our existing overtime entries. So let's change this one. All I have to do is double click on that, and now it gets pulled up. So maybe, you know, we have an employee who put in overtime for cash and now wants comp instead. Well, we can change the pay type. Once again, we can change the status. And that was all we had to do. You click save. That was the 5th. What shift was that for?
And let me back up a bit. And you, one of the locations that we know was north, south of
I can't remember what shift it was for. But anyways, so as far as editing overtime, it's the same exact way as you would edit time off entries. And as far as how you would do it, it's the exact same way. So if you're good with editing or changing a time off entry, you can do the same exact thing for overtime. So the mics are unmuted. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
All right. So next, let's take a look at managing switch requests. Now, this is a little different than managing time off or overtime. So let's go back to Supervisor. So now to approve a switch request, because your users, when they put in for a switch with someone else, it only goes in as a request. It doesn't, it still has to be approved by a supervisor or up. So as a supervisor, we're going to click on Change Request Switch Status. And now the only thing we need to put in is the date range of information we want to look at. I'll open this up for the year. Alright, so now we have a couple. So we have two approved entries right here. And now, through this screen, we can see who is who started the switch, the day that they're switching off, and that shift that they're switching off of. And now this is the person who's switching with them, and this is when that first employee is going to make it up to them for that shift. So the best way to look at it as, Francisco is coming off of shift 1 on April 20th. Claire's going to come in for him, and he's going to work for Claire on the 18th on shift 3. And we can see who the requester was. Here's their usernames right here, and also when the request was put in. So now we have one right here, and it's a request. So now let's approve it. If we click on this little button right next to request, we see pretty much the same information that we see up here. We can either delete that switch, deny the switch, or approve it. So let's approve it. The switch request has been approved. So now that was for the 7th. So let's take a look, see what that looks like. And here's that switch right there. Sergeant Vanessa Smith for Tyler Klutz. And that's all we need to do as far as, approving or denying switch requests. So the mics are open. Is everything so far so good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Use the console.
Yeah.
Top. Was it pretty much the same process if they're using the desktop application?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll go over that once we're done with this. I'll show you both, because we only have a couple things left on the web portal, and then after this, I'll show you how to do the same exact stuff on the desktop. Yep.
Okay, great.
All right. So next, let's take a look at some schedule actions. So the first thing we're going to do is add a comment to someone's name. Now this comment does show up on the daily schedule and everyone can see it. So maybe if you need to, kind of reiterate information so everyone can see it, whatever that may be, you can add it as a comment. So now let's do it for Officer McLean. So once again, there's two things we can do. We're going to click on his name, and now it's going to open up the single shift menu, or the single shift view, I should say. And now let's click Add Comments. So now we can select the date of the comment that we want to make effective, the shift. So we can leave it set to shift 1. And now we have, their employee code, the employee name. And now we can put in text in this field right here under comment. And now let's click Save. So now it's saved. We can X out. And now there's that comment right next to that person's name. So if we go to a daily schedule, shift 1 right there, this is a comment. We just put that in. So, I mean, as far as what you would necessarily put in that comment, that's up to, your department. But if you ever did need to kind of reiterate information so everyone could see it, whether, maybe they're doing a particular job or something like that, or, you need to tell them, hey, go to this place at this time. You can also leave it as a comment in addition to job assignments and things like that. Another thing we can do, if we need to move an employee to a different shift, we can just click on, any employee. It doesn't really matter. So if we need to move Sergeant Dunbar from shift 1 to shift 2, we're going to click on his name. We're going to click Move Employee. And now this is just saying, here's the employee that you're moving from this date on this shift to, and then we tell the system what date and shift. So we can leave it for today, but we're going to move them to shift 2. So now that saved. So he's no longer on shift 1. So now let's go to shift 2. And there he is right there. And his schedule times for the day automatically update themselves to whatever the default start and end times for this shift was. But if we need to update the times, maybe he's working shift 2 a little later, well, then we can just click on his name, change schedule times, which we've seen before, and that's that. The last thing we have to go over, go to the daily schedule. So now click on Supervisor. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. I apologize. If we ever need to view specific information about someone on a particular shift, we can use what we call a view entry, where we just see all the details of what they're working. So now I click on his name. I get his employee menu on the left. I can click View Entry. And now this is just saying if you were to work time off or overtime, it would also show up here. But it's just a regular work day. The times he's working, the total amount of hours. And now, like I was saying, if there was a time off or overtime attached to his name, that status and reason text would also show up. So here we see his post. Actually, you know what? Let's find someone with time off on their name. There we go. So now we're going to click on Josh. We're going to select View Entry. So now here, this is what he was scheduled for. And now here's that day off entry. So if we click on just his regular work day, we get, that basic information right here. And now let's click on that time off entry. So we can see approved status, reason text, and we see the timestamps. It might be a little hard to see, but right here, the first timestamp is just showing when it was requested, the date and the time, and the username of who did it. And then under it, we see an approved timestamp, the date and time it was approved, and who approved it. So you can view all that information from the View Entry screen. Now, the one other thing your supervisors may be doing, they may be responsible for, putting someone on the schedule via overtime. Say someone calls out sick and we need to get someone on the schedule. You can either just, call them, manually put in an overtime entry for them, which you've all seen before, or we can use our overtime replacement policy if you have it set up. So let's go on to Supervisor. And now here's the Supervisor menu right here. Let's click on Overtime Replacement Policy. And now we have quite a bit right here. But for rules, we're going to change them from standard to advanced. Standard is for our legacy users, which neither of you are. So, you're going to use the advanced mode. And you'll notice when you switch over to advanced, it looks a whole lot cleaner. So now we just pop in the date that we need to generate a call list. This is the date that we need someone to come in for. We select the shift that we need someone to come in for. And now we're also kind of filling out the overtime entry for them through this screen. So we select the overtime reason, maybe, staffing shortage. We can put in the times we need someone to come in. And the last thing, we just use whatever rule group we need to for our overtime replacement policy. And then we click Find Now. So now here is our call list. And you notice the only person I can click on is the person up top. Everyone else, I can't click on them. So that means I have to either accept, decline, or say I left a message. But either way, I need to click one of these buttons in order to get to the next person. And everything is logged in the system. But if I'm a supervisor, I call Josh up. Here's a cell phone right here. Can you come into work, today? No. We click decline. And now this is the log text that gets saved because, like I said, everything is stored kind of like in a log, so you'll be able to see exactly who did what when it came to running the replacement policy. So then we just click deny. And now here's the status. Josh denied it, so now it's on Tyler. We call him up. Yeah, I can work. We click accept. Now, while we got him on the phone, do you want cash or comp? He says cash, okay. Is he assigned to a job assignment, for this overtime? If so, we can select it. Now here we can, if we need to edit the times, meaning we've already put in the times that we're looking to fill. However, you may get some people, if say it's an 8-hour shift, maybe someone says, I can come in for the first 4 hours. Well, you could manually adjust that right here. And we could just skip down to reason text. And you can put whatever information you need to in here. This is what shows up on the overtime entry. And then the log text, we're going to save it as an accept. And now this last thing, auto approve, is pretty much what we're doing now with the replacement policy is, we called up this guy. He says he's going to come into work. So this is kind of creating the overtime entry for them. So if we leave auto approve checked, which it is by default, that means that as soon as we click assign, that overtime entry will not only be created for him, but it will also be automatically approved. Now, you may want to use that. I've certainly seen some people say, well, no, yeah, he said he'll come in, but we still need to verify that he actually came in and worked the hours he said he was going to. So we're going to uncheck that and leave it only as a request. So now what happens is that overtime entry got created for that person, and its status is currently request, and we can verify that through manage overtime. And here it is, staffing shortage. Right there, you could see it was only requested. So, say later on, okay, Tyler did come in for this shift, approve the overtime, and save. Any questions so far?
I don't have any.
Well, as far as the web portal goes, that was really all we needed to go over. And now I'm going to show you how to do the same exact stuff on the desktop. You know, for the most part, it's the same exact way. It might just look a little different. But as far as like the functionality and how you would do something, it's all relative. So let's go to the desktop application now. Alright, so now let me log in. Alright, so taking it kind of right back from the top. So first we're going to adjust someone's start and end times for their shift or for a date range. Well, very similarly, if we go to Supervisor Zone is almost identical to the Supervisor button on the web portal. Same thing for Employee Zone. It's the same thing as Employee. So a Supervisor is just kind of grouped a little differently. So if I click on Change Info, I can click on Update Schedule Times. And now we're going to leave it set to schedule times. We're going to select the employee or employees that we need to change their times from. We select, you know, once again, the days of the week if we're using a date range. Let's just go to today. So today is Thursday, so it's just the one day. We select the shift that they're working. And now let's adjust the times. We'll say, we'll make them start really early. We click apply, updated one entry. Let's refresh the screen. So now here are the updated hours right here. So once again, you know, change info from the Supervisor Zone. Update schedule times is what we want. Also, we can just click on that person's name, and here we have that employee menu and our shift menu. We can just do change schedule times, check the box next to his name to make it effective. Change this, click apply, and now those are his new times for that day. Any questions so far? I realize it looks a little different, but you know, pretty much if you click on their name, you get the same menu to the left right here on the desktop application that you would get on the web portal.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, now let's take a look at time off again. So let's go back to the Supervisor Zone, and now it's, you know, organized, change info, overtime, schedule details, and time off. So if we click on time off, we only have one screen available, manage time off. And now we have to set the same filters that we did in the web portal. We put in the date range. I'm just going to do this year. Select your employee or your reason. I'm going to leave it set to all. Leave the status to all. Click retrieve. And now here we go. Right there. The nice thing about this manage time off screen that's a little different than the web portal, we can edit the time off entry straight from this screen. Here's that one that we changed before from comp to vacation. Well, you know what? Let's change it back to comp. I double click on that entry, and now I get this request time off screen. So it's just showing us the reason, the part of day, the times, and the status. So now let's change it from vacation back to comp. Oops. We're going to leave it as approved. Let's apply. And now it gets saved. So, similar to the web portal, if we want to change anything, we can just select it from the status bar right here. If we wanted to change everything, make a global change, you can go right here under change entries. Right now, it's only selected entries, so let's turn that off to apply to everything. We click approve, they all get switched to approve, and we click apply. So now that got updated. And now there's that entry. It got changed from vacation back to comp. And now for overtime, it is the exact same thing, except now we're going to go to Supervisor Zone. We are going to click on overtime. So now we have a few more options for overtime than we did for time off. We still have manage overtime. We can also schedule overtime for someone. We can run the replacement policy. But we're going to stick with manage overtime for now. So it's the same exact screen as manage time off. Oops, let's change it to this year. And the same exact principle applies. We can change from, a request to an approved just by changing the status. We can edit the entry just by double-clicking on it. So now, obviously, we can't change the person, the day, or the shift that the overtime was for, but we can change the reason, the times, the pay type, and so on. We can add a comment. When you're done, you click apply, and then that gets saved. We click apply to make our change. Successfully updated one entry. And that was all we needed to do. The mics are open so far with managing time off and overtime through the desktop application. Are you guys good with that?
Yes.
All right. Now let's take a look at managing switch requests. So now with switch requests, because that has to do with, the schedule, if we're in the supervisor zone, we're going to click schedule. And here we have manage switch requests. Once again, very similar to the web portal, just asking for a date range. We'll click retrieve. And now here are our requests, or, our switches, I should say. They've all been approved. So you can't deny something if it's already been approved, as you can see right here. Oops. Switch has already been approved. So if we did have any requests, all we'd have to do is select it and click approve or deny. But just keep in mind, once it's approved, and that's that. And that's all we need to do. So it's, like I said before, it's the same functionality as on the web portal. Let's see. As far as viewing entries, once again, so right here we have an overtime. So let's click on it, and we can select view entry from the left under the employee menu right here. We go to view entry. Here's some information. Reason text, post, timestamps. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. I don't think that helps you guys, but here's the requested timestamp, when it was approved. Now, a little different than the web portal, it's actually easier. If you need to move an employee to another shift, if both of those shifts that you're using are on the same daily schedule, you can just drag and drop the employee to whatever shift you need them to move to, and then you get this move employee window that pops up, kind of like just a confirmation window, saying, okay, Vanessa Smith is moving from dispatch 1 on today to dispatch 2 for today. We click apply, and now there she is on dispatch 2. Now, if you need to move someone and there's shifts aren't on the same daily schedule, well, if we just go to supervisor zone, we can do remove from schedule, select our person. So Vanessa is coming off of shift 2, so we're going to remove her from the schedule. I'm going to select all shifts for today. Click apply. Now if I refresh that, she's gone. But now if I click on dispatch 1, add employees to schedule, Vanessa's right here. We click select, and now she's on the schedule for the default shift times. Another thing you can do, if you just select her name, so let's do someone else. We'll do Joseph. We get Joseph's employee menu right here. We can just click move employee. And then this is the same confirmation screen that we get when we drag and drop people. And we just put in the date, the shift. So let's change it from dispatch 3 to 2. We click apply. And now he got switched from dispatch 3 to dispatch 2. Any questions so far?
I have one question on the switches. When
I'm sorry?
I actually have on the switch. When you do the switch, if the switch gets canceled, do you just hit the delete and it'll go back to the original?
You were kind of coming in and out. You have to, something got canceled. Are you referring to like overtime?
No, on the switches.
Oh, if the switch got canceled?
Yeah, do you just hit the delete then?
That's correct.
Okay.
Another thing you can do, I'm trying to remember what day the actual switch was for, so let me just go back into that screen really quick. All right, so we have one for 6/7 on 6/7. Okay, simple enough. Let's go to the 7th. Now here's our switch, Tyler for Vanessa.
Okay.
When we click on that particular entry, we see on Vanessa's menu, because she was the person originally scheduled for that shift, we have this undo switch button.
Okay.
We click on that and it goes, are you sure you want to undo the switch? We click undo, and now she's just back on the schedule like the switch never happened.
Okay.
So honestly, when using the desktop application, if you're doing anything for a particular employee, the easiest thing to do is just to click on that person's name in a daily schedule, and you get everything you could possibly need to do for that person on this left menu right here. And below it is, are the things that we can do for the dispatch, or I'm sorry, for the shift, whatever shift we clicked on, such as adding someone to that shift.
Okay.
Adding open shifts, which is another class as far as, what that means. Locking a shift, run replacement policy, and scheduling overtime for that shift. So, as far as the quickest way to do things, if you know exactly who it's for, just click on their name and then take it from there. That's the easiest way to go about it.
Okay.
What we have left. Okay, so next I'm going to show you how to run the replacement policy. Again, very simple. If we go to Supervisor Zone, we click Overtime. We have Overtime Replacement Policy. So now once again, we're going to switch from Standard Rules to Advanced Rules. And then we put in the date we need someone to come in for, the shift, the times, the overtime reason. So maybe I'll say storm damage. We select our rule group. In my case, I only have one. And I click Find Now. Just give that a second to load. And here we go. We have our list again. And it operates the same way. You need to go from top to bottom. The whole purpose of an overtime replacement policy is to make it as fair as possible, so we can't just select whoever we want. We have to at least choose a status for this person. Like I said, it all gets saved. So every click someone does on this overtime replacement policy is tracked. So and this is, I'm kind of getting off topic, that's like an admin function. But, as far as running the replacement policy, so now here we call Keith, can you come into work? No, you hit decline. Now, Joseph, can you come into work? Yes, accept. Once again, we select the pay type. If they were assigned to a post, we check that box, and then we select the post. We can kind of confirm the times right here. Reason text. Storm damage, traffic control, and West Patrol area. Here's the log text. Now, once again, we have that auto approve. So I'll just say, this is going to be automatically approved. I click Assign, and there we go. Here's that overtime entry right there. So, okay, well, let's get more information about this. View entry. Here's his workday right there. Here's the overtime entry. Approved status is approved. West Patrol, reason text, who approved it. So all that stuff is right there. So as far as running the replacement policy, are you guys good with that? The mics are open, by the way.
Yes.
That looks good.
Okay. So the last thing I want to show you, it's just assigning jobs or vehicles or anything like that on to an employee. I'm gonna show you how to do that, whether it's on a daily basis or weekly, monthly, yearly basis. I'll show you how to do that, and that'll be it. That's all we have all we have left to go over today. So let's go back to Supervisor Zone. And now we have a whole area dedicated just to schedule details. Now this includes both schedule details and job assignments. So we need to assign someone to a job for the day or for the week, or if we need to assign someone to a particular car or piece of equipment for the week, we can do it all from this screen. So, like I was saying, we can do it either for the day or for a period of days. If we want to do it just for the day, we can click on Manage Daily Assignments. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It has the word daily in it, so that's just for the day. So here we can select the date that we want to put these assignments on. We select the shift we want to work with, so I'll just do, let's see, shift 1. So now what happens is here is, this list right here is going to show our employees who are working shift 1 on this date. And now we have a selection. We can select jobs. So now it's showing me all the jobs I have available that I can assign this person to. Actually, let's pick a different shift. I know I'm working that. Shoot. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to find something with multiple people on it. All right, we have 2 people here. All right, so I can leave this selection to jobs, and here are my jobs. I can select car, and then here are my cars that I have in the system. Radio, AED. This is going to show whatever you currently have in the system, so it might look a little different. Now, to actually put someone on these assignments, all you have to do is drag and drop that person on that job. So maybe Officer Randall's working West Patrol, and Wells is going to work East. Now that saves automatically, so we can jump right into car. So maybe Randall's going to be in car 2 today, and now you'll see his name underneath the car 2 assignment. Let's go to radio, radio 1, radio 2. Last thing, tasers, taser 101. And we're good, and that's all we had to do. So that's how we do our assignments. Like I said, it automatically saves. So then from here, we can just jump to another shift. Car 1. Actually, let's do car 4. Let's close out of that. So now, I don't have my dashboard showing schedule details. Just give me 1 second. Here are all the assignments right there. We can also, so here's the job assignment and then the schedule details. Also, if I have a daily roster that I use, this will show the jobs for the day, who's assigned to what car, what radio, what AED, what taser. It also shows day off entries and overtime entries, as well as comments. So as far as doing job or schedule detail assignments for the day, it's pretty easy through that screen. It's all just drag and drop. But now maybe you assign people to cars for the week, right? Maybe it changes every other week. So let's go to Supervisor Zone. Back to schedule details. And now if we click on update schedule details, it's going to bring us to this screen. You can either choose a month calendar view or a grid view. Personally, I prefer the grid view, and I'll show you why in a second. So now we put the apply dates. This is the date range that whatever assignments we put on this person's name will be effective for. So maybe it's for the whole month of July, right? They're working, they have 1 car the entire month. So now I put my date range in, I select my employee or employees that I'm working with. So now when I do that, you'll see their names. We have a column for all, and then every remaining column is a day. So this is the assignment for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. All would just mean whatever days they're working, they're going to have that assignment linked to them. So now here, we have that selection again, whether it's jobs, car, radio, and so on. So for job, maybe both of these guys are going to be OICs for the entire month of July. Now we click apply, and you'll see successfully updated 42 entries. I'm assuming because each of these guys work 21 days out of the month of July. So it's a little different than managed daily assignment in that it doesn't save automatically. That's because in managed daily assignments, you're only doing it for the day, whereas this one is for an extended amount of days. So now if I, move to car now, here are my schedule details on the right. Maybe every Monday, Des is going to be in car 1, Tyler will be in car 4, and then maybe, it switches to, maybe there's a pattern, or you could just do car 3 for all, car 4 for all. So this means that Des will be in car 3 the entire month of July, Tyler will be in car 4 the entire month of July. We click apply. And there we go, successfully updated 42 entries. If you want to use the month view, you just drag and drop the assignment onto that day for whoever's highlighted. So if you prefer the drag and drop method, you could do that. I like using grid view because you could just put it on all instead of having to drag and drop every single day if it's for the entire duration, you know what I'm saying? So it's up to you, whatever you think is easier. So the mics are unmuted. Any questions about assigning people to jobs or schedule details?
No, I'm good.
A quick question. If you assign them to a car for the month or whatever, and then the car goes out of service, it's fairly easy to update the car for the schedule, right? Done on the daily. It's hard to be out for a couple of days, or.
So what you could do is, one, you could just select that person. If there's anything there, just clear selected. Or if you're assigning it to a new car, right? You just put in whatever day that switch is going to start. So say, I don't know, on the 14th the car breaks down. Ez is no longer in car 3, he's in car 2. Well, it's just going to be from the 14th to the end of July. We click apply. And now it only updated 24 entries instead of 42. Because we only changed 24 entries for Des. So it kind of like overwrites it.
Okay.
If it's like for the day or something like that, you could always just go into manage daily assignments. Where was that? Oh, shit. Okay. So if you need to take him off a car for the day, you can just drag and drop his name off of that assignment for the day.
Okay. Is it possible for the officer to assign themselves to a car, or does it have to be a supervisor?
You can give them access to the screen. Unfortunately, like some people, the way the system is, especially with like supervisor privileges, as far as giving them access, like, they'll be able to do it for other people too. So a lot of people say, well, then no, we don't want them doing it. So we just leave it as a supervisor, related function. Like I said, I mean, your supervisors, they can do it for the week. When they come in, say, on Monday or Sunday, they can just do their assignments for the week, and they don't have to touch it again until the next week.
Right.
And, a lot of people, what they do is they just do it either when they come in to start their shift, they just, do a quick manage daily assignments thing, or they do it for the next day at the end of their shift. So, say if I want to do my assignments for tomorrow, I can just put it in tonight. Because once you start doing it, it literally takes seconds to actually do it. Once you get kind of really familiar with the system, you can do these functions. you can get all of your supervisor-related tasks done in less than 5-10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I mean, that was really all I had to show you for Supervisor. I know it may seem like a lot, but keep in mind I also showed you web portal and desktop. And the way you would do, you know, any function, it's kind of the same. Looks a little different, but for the most part, you're still putting in the same information. You know, everything handles the same way. Any changes you make to the desktop will show up in the web portal, vice versa. So if you put someone on overtime through the web portal, it will show up in the desktop. You know, they're interchangeable at this point. So does anyone have any questions regarding anything we went over?
I'm good.
Okay. Mark, did you have any questions before we go ahead and finish up?
I do not. I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, well, I'll go ahead and end this recording.